She asked, "Will you stay if I undress, human?" What he said changed the galaxy forever. The storm outside the colony walls screamed like a wild beast. Electric dust danced across the metal surface of Zereth Prime, lighting the night with violet sparks. Inside the massive alien fortress, everything was silent, cold, silver, and alive. The walls seemed to breathe, and the air carried a faint hum, like a sleeping machine dreaming. Elias, a human engineer, stood at the giant doorway marked with alien runes. His reflection trembled in the mirrored metal. He had been assigned to repair a damaged energy core deep inside the noble section of the fortress. But this one was different. This was the Forbidden's quarters, the private chamber of the mysterious alien noblewoman, Leora. No one had entered her room in years. Some said those who did never came back the same. Elias adjusted his tool bag, feeling the weight of the silence pressing on him. The alien guard beside him, a tall creature with crystalline eyes, spoke without emotion. "You go alone, human." "The lady does not allow witnesses," Elias nodded, pretending to be calm, but his pulse was racing. He had heard the rumors about her beauty, her curse, her loneliness. But he was not here for stories. He was here for work. The door slid open with a slow hiss, revealing a soft blue light inside. Elias stepped in carefully. The air was warm and perfumed, carrying the faint scent of flowers that did not exist on Earth. He could hear the gentle sound of breathing somewhere in the shadows. The door closed behind him with a sound like a heartbeat. For a moment, he stood frozen, realizing he was locked inside. The room was strange, both mechanical and organic. Walls flowed like melted glass, and tiny lights pulsed beneath them, as if the room itself was alive. In the center was a large pool of liquid light. Glowing softly, near it stood a figure, tall, slender, and wrapped in silver fabric that shimmered with every movement. Her skin was faintly luminous, showing patterns like stars moving under her flesh. Her face was hidden behind a transparent veil, but her eyes glowed, two distant galaxies burning in sadness. "You are the human they sent?" Her voice echoed softly, like music through water. Elias swallowed. "Yes, ma'am. I'm here to fix your power relay. It's been overloading your chamber systems." She tilted her head slightly. "And they sent you alone?" He nodded. "That's protocol. The chamber systems are sensitive. They said I should work quietly." She gave a faint smile, almost painful. "Quietly. Yes, that is what they all prefer. Silence over truth." Elias didn't understand what she meant, but he didn't ask. He set his tools down and started scanning the wall for the damaged conduits. But he could feel her eyes on him, watching every move. The air felt heavier, not with danger, but with something else. Sorrow, maybe, or deep curiosity. Finally, she spoke again. "Tell me, human, do your kind still believe that beauty and purity are the same thing?" Elias paused, unsure how to respond. "I don't know, ma'am, I guess." "Not always." Her glowing eyes dimmed. "Good. Then maybe you will not fear me." He turned slightly, catching a glimpse of her reflection in the glowing pool. Her robes shimmered with veins of light, but beneath them he saw faint scars. They were glowing patterns on her arms and neck, like cracks in crystal. Elias quickly looked away, embarrassed to stare, but she noticed. "You see them, don't you?" She said quietly. "They call it impurity, a curse of birth." He wanted to speak, to say something comforting, but the words refused to come. He only said, "Scars mean survival, not shame." The silence that followed was deep. Then she whispered, almost to herself, "You speak differently, human. Most of your kind avoid my eyes." He didn't know how to reply, so he kept working. Sparks flickered as he opened a panel and replaced the damaged fuses. Behind him, he heard her footsteps, soft, slow, deliberate. Her reflection appeared again, closer now. He could feel the warmth of her light against his back. "Why did you come here?" she asked. "They say humans fear what they don't understand." Elias smiled faintly. Without turning, "Maybe I came to understand." There was a pause. Then she said something that made his heart skip. "If I were to show you who I really am, would you still stay?" Elias froze. He looked up slowly and saw her eyes. Shimmering, searching, almost trembling. "I don't understand," he whispered. Her voice was softer now, fragile. "Would you stay if I undress, human?" The question hung in the air like lightning, not filled with desire, but pain, a desperate need to be seen without fear. Elias didn't know what to say, his throat dry. The air around them grew warmer. The lights dimmed. He realized this was not a game. This was a plea, before he could answer. A faint hum rose from the wall, the system restarting. The power flickered back to life. He used it as an excuse to look away, pretending to check his scanner, but his mind was burning with the echo of her question. She stepped back slowly into the shadows, her glowing eyes still fixed on him. Then she whispered, "You may go, human." For now. He hesitated, but the door slid open behind him, as if the room itself wanted him gone. As he stepped out, her last words followed him like a haunting melody. "Next time, answer me outside." The guard looked at him suspiciously. "You are done already?" Elias nodded, still lost in thought. For now. Yes, but deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Because something in that room, in her voice, her question, had changed him. And before we move to the next part of this mysterious story, if you're enjoying this tale of humanity, mystery, and courage, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel, HFY Sci-Fi, so you don't miss what happens next when the human finally answers her question. The night after Elias left the Forbidden's quarters, he couldn't sleep. The image of her eyes, those glowing galaxies filled with pain, burned behind his lids. Her voice kept echoing in his head. "Would you stay if I undress, human?" It wasn't lust. It wasn't temptation. It was something else. Something raw and desperate, like a cry for help wrapped in shame. The next morning, the commander called him in. "You will not return there, Engineer Elias," the commander said firmly. "That chamber is sealed again. Your task is complete." Elias frowned. "But the power core still fluctuates. It's unstable. If it fails." "It could." The commander slammed his hand on the table. "Enough, human. You don't understand who you're dealing with." Elias could see the fear even in the alien's crystalline eyes. "She is not meant to be seen, not even by her own kind." That made his curiosity even worse. He tried to focus on his other duties, but something in him had changed. He couldn't stop thinking about her, Leora, that sadness, that strange beauty hidden under the silver veil, and the way her voice broke when she said, "They call it impurity." Later that night, when the fortress lights dimmed for rest cycle, Elias found himself standing again at the same forbidden door. The guards were gone, a rare moment of luck or maybe fate. The door shimmered faintly, and to his surprise, it opened without resistance, as if the room itself remembered him. Inside, the light was softer this time. Blue and gold waves rippled across the walls like liquid stars. Liara was sitting near the glowing pool. Her back turned, her robe hung loosely off one shoulder, revealing a patch of glowing skin beneath. She didn't turn when she spoke. "I knew you would come back." "Human." Elias froze. "How did you?" "I felt it," she said simply. "The chamber listens to hearts." "Not footsteps." He stepped closer, carefully. "They told me to stay away. They said you're dangerous." Her laugh was soft but bitter. "Yes, I am dangerous. But only to lies." She finally turned toward him, her veil gone. And Elias took a step back without meaning to. Her face was unlike anything he had seen. Beautiful. Yes, but not in the way humans understand beauty. Her skin glowed with colors that moved slowly beneath the surface. Pinks, blues, and silvers, swirling like a living nebula. But what shocked him most were the faint cracks along her cheeks, glowing fractures, like broken glass trying to hold together. "You fear me," she said quietly. "No," Elias whispered. I don't understand." She tilted her head. "That's what they all say before they turn away." He shook his head. "Then let me understand. Tell me what happened." For a long time she was silent. Then she rose and walked to the pool, her reflection shimmering beneath her. "I was born from two worlds," she began. "My mother, a being of light, pure energy. My father, a soldier of flesh and bone. Their union was forbidden." Her fingers brushed the surface of the glowing pool. "When I was born, I was neither. My kind saw me as an abomination. A mistake of creation." She turned, her eyes dimming. "They called me the broken light." Elias stepped closer. "And so they locked you here?" "Yes," she whispered. "In this chamber of silence, to keep me hidden, so their perfect world would remain untainted." Her voice trembled, and for the first time, Elias saw not an alien, but a woman alone. "Forgotten? How long?" he asked softly. 300 cycles, she said. "Long enough for even stars to fade." Elias felt his throat tighten. He wanted to say something, anything, but she looked away, her glowing patterns flickering like fading embers. "You pity me," she said. "Don't. I don't," he replied. "I just wish someone had stayed." Her gaze snapped back to him, intense, fragile. "Then stay now," she whispered, stepping closer. Her light brushed against his skin like warmth from a dying sun. Elias's breath caught as she raised her hand and placed it over his heart. The tunnels beneath the fortress were a maze of darkness and living metal. Pipes breathed faintly, and the walls pulsed with veins of blue energy. Elias's flashlight cut through the mist, revealing narrow corridors that seemed to twist endlessly. Behind him, Leora walked barefoot, her bioluminescent skin glowing faintly in the shadows. The light from her body reflected on the damp walls, painting strange, moving shapes. She looked fragile and powerful at the same time, a being made of sorrow and starlight. Every few steps, Elias turned to make sure she was still behind him. Her breathing was uneven, the glow on her skin flickering weakly. "You're hurt," he said quietly. She shook her head. "Not hurt, just drained. Every time I use my energy, it takes from me." Elias frowned. "Then save your strength. I'll lead the way." But she smiled faintly. "You forget, human. I was born in these walls. They breathe with me. I can feel the way out. They move deeper into the maze." The hum of the fortress growing louder around them. Somewhere above, distant alarms echoed. Liara paused suddenly, placing her hand on the wall. Her eyes widened in fear. "They're coming. Who?" Elias asked. "The purifiers," she whispered. "My own kind. They're sent to erase mistakes like me." Before Elias could react, the tunnel lights turned red. The metallic floor shifted under their feet, forming spikes and ridges as if the fortress itself was turning against them. "Run!" Liara cried, grabbing his hand. They sprinted through the winding corridors as the walls closed behind them. Sealing off the path, sparks rained from the ceiling, and Elias could hear the sharp mechanical footsteps of something pursuing them. They burst into a wider chamber, a massive underground hall filled with broken machines and hanging cables. It looked abandoned, like a forgotten heart of the fortress. Elias slammed the door shut and sealed it with his repair tool. Panting heavily, Liara fell to her knees. Her glow dimming, he crouched beside her. "Leora, stay with me." We need to keep moving. She nodded weakly, her voice trembling. You shouldn't have come back, human. They'll destroy you for helping me. Elias shook his head. Then let them try. There was silence for a moment. Only the sound of the fortress breathing, a low rhythmic pulse that filled the chamber. Liara looked up at him, her eyes shimmering with soft light. You don't understand what I am, she said. If you knew, you would run too. Elias met her gaze. Then tell me, Liara, let me understand, she hesitated. Then stood slowly, her glow brightened slightly, casting golden light across the hall. I told you I was born of two worlds, she said. But I didn't tell you the rest. She raised her hand, and the air around her began to ripple. Her robe dissolved into light, revealing patterns of pure energy running beneath her skin, like rivers of molten silver. Elias stepped back, eyes wide, as she began to levitate slightly off the floor. Her voice deepened, layered with echoes. My mother's kind, the Eliari, were beings of pure energy, capable of shaping life itself. My father was a Terran scientist from the first colonization fleet. He fell in love with one of them, and together they created me. She spread her arms, light flowing through the room like waves. But my creation broke the law of both species. I am neither human nor Eliari. I am the bridge, the living proof that light and flesh can become one. Elias stared in awe, unable to speak. Her body glowed brighter. But he noticed the cracks on her skin widening, bleeding light. Liara, stop. He shouted, You're hurting yourself. She gasped, falling to her knees, the light dimming again. The walls pulsed violently, the fortress reacting to her power. You see? She said weakly, This is why they fear me. I am unstable. A child of two impossible worlds. Elias rushed to her side, catching her before she collapsed. Her body was burning hot, but trembling. He placed her hand over his chest. You're not unstable. You're alive. You're proof that both sides can coexist. Her eyes filled with tears of light. Do you really believe that, human? Yes, he said softly. I believe it more than anything. Suddenly, the sound of metal echoed from the entrance. Heavy footsteps, cold and precise. From the shadows emerged three figures, tall and sharp, made of glass and armor. Their faces were expressionless masks of crystal, their voices mechanical. Target located, one said. The aberration and her companion must be terminated. Elias stood, pulling out his plasma cutter, a useless tool for combat. But it was all he had. Stay behind me, he said. Liara tried to rise, her glow flickering. You can't fight them. They are born of the same energy as me. I don't care, Elias said. I made a promise to stay. The first purifier raised its arm. Light gathered into a deadly spear. Elias dodged, sparks flying as the weapon tore through the wall behind him. He swung his tool wildly, striking the creature's arm and cutting into one of its cables. It staggered back, but another advanced, aiming directly for Liara. She screamed, her light flaring bright white. A wave of energy burst from her body, throwing the purifiers across the room. The chamber shook violently, walls cracking. Elias shielded his face from the blinding light. When the glow faded, he saw Liara kneeling again, trembling. The purifiers lay shattered, but her body flickered weakly, her light fading fast. She looked up at him with fear. Elias. I can't hold it anymore. He caught her in his arms. You're okay. You're safe. She shook her head, tears glowing down her cheeks. No? I used too much. My energy will consume me. Her skin began to fracture further, light bleeding out like liquid fire. Elias panicked, thinking fast. He took his power core, the small energy unit from his suit, and connected it to her wrist conduit. Don't. It'll kill you. She gasped. He smiled faintly. Then we'll share the risk. The core activated. sending a surge of human energy into her system. For a moment, everything went silent. Then the light stabilized. Leora opened her eyes slowly, her glow now softer, calmer. Elias exhaled in relief, collapsing beside her. They sat together in the ruins of the chamber, breathing heavily. For the first time, there was peace. Even amid the chaos, after a long silence, Leora whispered, "You stayed." Elias smiled weakly. "I told you I would." She looked at him, a faint smile appearing on her lips for the first time. "And I will show you something no human has ever seen." She raised her hand, and the wall beside them melted into light. Beyond it was a hidden passage, leading into a glowing chamber filled with suspended crystals. At the center was a massive structure, half organic, half machine, pulsating like a heart. "This," she said, "is the origin core. It is where I was born, and it is what they fear most. For inside this heart lies the code that can unite our species, or destroy them both." Elias stared in awe. "You mean—" "Yes," she said quietly. "The secret of creation itself," before he could speak. The fortress trembled violently again. A deep, booming voice echoed through the tunnels. "Leora of the broken light, surrender yourself, or all of Zereth Prime will burn." The ground shook, dust falling from above. Elias grabbed her hand. "We have to go." She looked toward the heart of the origin core, her eyes full of sorrow and determination. "No, Elias," she said softly. "We have to finish what began centuries ago." And as the fortress roared around them, she turned toward him and whispered, "Will you still stay? Human, even when the truth demands everything?" Her words echoed through the chamber like a prophecy, and Elias realized this was no longer about repair, or duty, or even survival. It was about the moment of truth, when one human's choice could decide the fate of two worlds. The fortress of Zereth Prime trembled as the booming voice faded. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and cracks formed along the glowing walls. Elias could feel the vibration in his bones, a low, powerful hum. It wasn't just machinery. It was alive, reacting to something deep inside. Leora stood still in the center of the glowing chamber, her eyes reflecting the pulsing light of the origin core. Her silver hair floated slightly in the charged air, her skin flickering between light and shadow. The look on her face was not fear, but acceptance, as if she had been waiting for this moment her entire life. Elias stared at the enormous living machine before them. The origin core was breathtaking. Veins of molten light ran through its structure. Giant crystal spines reached toward the ceiling, humming like a heartbeat. It wasn't just a machine. It felt ancient. "Sacred, Leora," he whispered. "What is this thing really?" She looked at him, her expression heavy. "It's the first bridge, the place where my parents met. The first human who reached out to the Eliari created this with her. It was their bond, a creation that joined flesh and energy together. But when their kind found out, they destroyed him and sealed me away." The walls quaked again, and a distorted voice echoed through the tunnels. "Leora of the broken light, surrender the core, or face erasure." Her face hardened. "They will not erase me again." Elias stepped closer. "What are they planning?" She looked at him. "If they destroy the core, both human colonies and the Eliari sanctuaries will lose power. It feeds every system on this planet. Every city above depends on this energy." Elias froze. "So if it's destroyed, the whole planet dies," she finished quietly. Suddenly, a blinding beam of light sliced through the wall behind them. The chamber door exploded, and the purifiers stormed in dozens this time. Their crystalline armor glowed red, and their weapons pulsed with energy ready to burn. Elias grabbed Leora's arm and pulled her behind a fallen column. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the first energy blasts hit the core. Leora screamed. No! If they damage it, everything will collapse. Without thinking, Elias ran toward the nearest terminal and connected his datapad. What are you doing? She shouted. I'm trying to reroute the power grid, he said. If I can overload the shield matrix, it might block their weapons. She looked at him in disbelief. You're a mechanic, not a soldier, he grinned weakly. Then it's time to improvise, the purifiers advanced. Firing relentless beams of burning light, one struck the wall beside Elias. Sending him sprawling, the datapad flew from his hand. Shattering against the floor, Leora raised her hands, summoning what little strength she had left. A pulse of golden energy burst from her palms, forming a shimmering barrier around them. The blasts deflected. For a moment, they were safe. But Elias saw the cost immediately. Her light was fading again. Veins of dimness spread across her glowing skin like cracks in dying glass. Stop, he shouted. You'll kill yourself. She smiled faintly. Better me than everyone above. Her voice was soft. Trembling. You don't understand, Elias. I've lived my life hiding, shamed. Now I can finally protect something. He grabbed her shoulders. You're not alone anymore. You don't have to die for them. Her eyes filled with tears of light. Then help me save them. Together they turned toward the control terminal near the core. Elias started typing rapidly, lines of alien code flickering across the screen. Leora placed her hands on the surface, merging her energy with the system. Their combined power began to synchronize, human code and Eliari energy joining as one. The core pulsed faster, glowing brighter than ever before, but the purifiers didn't stop. Their leader stepped forward, towering over the others. Its voice was cold and resonant. The impurity threatens the balance. Eliminate both subjects. It raised its arm, forming a spear of condensed light aimed directly at them. Elias moved instinctively, pushing Leora aside. The beam struck him in the shoulder, throwing him to the ground. His scream echoed through the chamber, the scent of burned metal filling the air. Leora turned, her eyes burning with fury. No more, she whispered. Her body erupted in pure light, blinding, divine, unstoppable. The purifiers froze as waves of energy burst outward. The light pierced their armor, shattering them into shards. The whole fortress shook as her power reached the core. Elias could barely see, only feel the heat and hear the roar of the storm she had become. When the light faded, the purifiers were gone. The walls glowed dimly, the core flickering in unstable rhythm. Leora fell to her knees beside Elias, her skin now faintly transparent. He crawled to her, clutching her hand. Her voice was barely a whisper. You stayed again, even when it meant death. He smiled weakly through the pain. I told you. I keep my word. She pressed her glowing hand against his wound. Light seeped into his skin, the pain fading, but the more she healed him, the dimmer her light became. Stop, he said. You'll disappear. She shook her head. If you live, there's hope. That's all that matters. He held her face gently. No, Leora. We both live or neither. Tears, glowing and real, fell from her eyes. You speak as if you understand what it means to be me. He smiled faintly. I don't need to understand you to care. The core pulsed violently again. This time not from her power, but from deep within. The overload had begun. Alarms blared. The walls turned crimson. Elias looked at the readings, his heart sinking. It's going critical. The core's going to explode. Leora stared at the massive structure, her face calm. There's only one way to stop it. She stepped toward it, the floor glowing beneath her feet. Elias grabbed her arm. No. You'll die if you merge with it. She smiled sadly. I was born from this. Elias, if I return to it, maybe I can balance the energy. It's what I was meant for. Elias shook his head, gripping her hand tightly. Leora, please. There has to be another way. Her eyes softened. Do you remember what I asked you when we first met? He swallowed hard, nodding. You asked if I would stay. She smiled faintly. Then stay with me now. Before he could speak, she leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his. A soft light passed between them, not just warmth, but memory, emotion, love. Then she turned and walked into the heart of the glowing core. Her body dissolved into light, merging with the machine. The chamber exploded with radiant color gold, blue, silver. The storm outside stopped. The fortress ceased shaking, and the planet's hum became calm again. Elias collapsed, the blinding light fading into silence. He woke some time later, lying near the core. It no longer pulsed violently. Instead, it glowed softly, in the center where she had vanished. A single glowing crystal floated, shaped like a heart. He reached out and touched it gently. It pulsed once alive. And in his mind, he heard her voice. I'm here, Elias, always. He closed his eyes, tears running down his face. Above him, the fortress lights began to shine with new colors. Not just blue or silver, but a warm golden light, human and Eliari energy in perfect harmony. Outside, in the colonies and alien sanctuaries, power surged back stronger than ever. The purifiers vanished, their network disarmed, and a new message appeared across every system on Zereth Prime, written in both human and Eliari script. The light and the flesh are one. The bridge has awakened. Hales rose slowly, the crystal still glowing in his hand. He looked toward the horizon beyond the fortress walls, and whispered to the stars, Leora, you broke their laws, and in doing so, you saved us all. The silence that followed was not empty. It was peace, deep, endless, and alive, but far away. In the darkest part of space, unseen sensors flickered to life, and a voice spoke in the void. If the bridge has awakened, then the old war will begin again. The story was far from over, and Elias knew it, because every miracle demands a price, and the universe had just noticed theirs. The fortress stood silent beneath the stormless sky. For the first time in centuries, Zereth Prime was calm. The winds had stopped, the clouds parted, and a pale sunrise spilled light across the metallic horizon. But inside the ruins of the fortress, where the origin core pulsed faintly, the air trembled with unseen energy. Elias opened his eyes slowly, pain spreading through his body like static. He was lying among broken cables and shards of glass, his suit torn and half melted. The world was quiet, except for the soft hum of the core. He pushed himself up with trembling hands and looked around. The once living walls of the chamber were now still, their light fading to gentle gold. At the center of it all floated the crystal she had become, Leora. Her glow was faint but steady. Breathing in rhythm like a sleeping heart, Elias stumbled closer, falling to his knees before it. Leora, you did it, he whispered. He touched the crystal, and it pulsed softly under his fingers. Her voice came, faint but clear inside his mind. You should not have stayed, human. His breath caught, you're alive. A soft echo, almost like laughter, alive in a way that cannot be measured. I am part of the core, now part of this world. He felt tears forming, his voice breaking. I can't lose you. You haven't, she whispered gently. I see through every spark, every pulse, every life connected to this system. I am here, and I am watching. Elias gripped the edge of the core's pedestal, trembling. Then let me stay with you. No, her voice grew softer. You must leave, Elias. They will come for you. The ones who built the purifiers will not forgive what we've done. He looked up sharply. The purifiers are gone. Yes, but their makers are not, she replied. And as if summoned by her words, the ground began to shake again. The golden light of the core flickered. A deep rumble rose from the earth, mechanical, cold, endless. Elias backed away instinctively. Leora, what's happening? They have activated the Overseer, the one who commands the machine minds. You must run. The floor split open with a shriek of metal, and a blinding column of light shot upward. From beneath the fortress, a structure began to rise, enormous and ancient. A machine tower taller than any mountain, made of shifting metal and floating rings. The Overseer, its voice echoed through the fortress. Deep and emotionless. Unauthorized fusion detected. Termination protocol initiated. The air turned thick with power. Elias could feel static crawling across his skin. Leora. What do I do? Follow the tunnel behind the core. It leads to the outer valley. There is a ship there, one of your kind's old vessels. He hesitated, looking back at the glowing crystal. I can't leave you behind. Her voice grew gentle again, almost human. You are not leading me. You are carrying me. Take the crystal, Elias. His hands shook as he reached forward. The crystal detached from the core easily, as if it had been waiting. When he held it, it glowed brighter, warm, alive. He could feel her heartbeat through it. Go, she said, and then the core exploded with light. Collapsing into itself, Elias ran as the chamber fell apart behind him. The tunnels twisted and roared with energy. Walls collapsing, air filled with dust and debris. He clutched the crystal to his chest as he sprinted through the darkness. Every explosion behind him echoed like thunder. The fortress was dying, but it felt like something larger was waking. After minutes of running, or maybe hours, he couldn't tell, Elias finally saw a faint glow ahead. He burst through a rusted hatch and stumbled into the open air. Before him stretched the endless wasteland of Mirren, a desert of metallic dust and floating rocks, and there, half buried in the ground, stood an ancient ship, a Terran explorer. Its hull was scarred and faded, its lights long dead, but to Elias it was hope. He ran to it. Forcing open the side hatch, inside, everything was coated in silver ash. He coughed as he made his way to the control room. The screens were dark, the systems cold. He placed the crystal on the console. Leora, can you connect to it? For a moment, there was silence. Then the crystal pulsed, and the ship came alive. Panels lit up, wires hummed, and the engine groaned awake. Her voice filled the air. Softer now, but stronger than before. You never stop fixing things, do you? Elias smiled weakly. It's what I do. As the engines warmed, he glanced at the radar. Red dots were approaching fast. The Overseer's drones, thousands of them, closing in. Leora. They're coming. Then it's time to fly, she said. The ship's thrusters ignited, shaking the ground beneath them. Dust swirled as the old craft lifted off, creaking but alive as they broke through the clouds. The sight below made his blood run cold. The entire surface of Zereth Prime was shifting, machines rising like towers, crawling out of the crust like a living swarm, the Overseer's true army. They are awakening everything buried beneath the surface, Leora said, her voice echoing through the ship. Elias gritted his teeth, pulling the controls. Then we're not staying. He pushed the throttle. The ship shot upward, breaking through the stratosphere. Fire streaked across the windows as they entered space. For a moment, everything went silent. The stars stretched out before them, endless, cold and beautiful. Elias leaned back, breathing heavily. The planet glowed below, half bathed in light, half swallowed in shadow, and in the distance, above the planet's orbit, he saw them. Ships, thousands of them, massive Eliari vessels descending like falling stars. They're coming for the core, he whispered. No, Leora replied. her tone grave. "They're coming for us." Elias turned in his seat, his reflection flickering on the console. "What do we do now?" The crystal pulsed softly. "We run, we survive, because the bridge must live." He stared at the glowing heart in front of him. "The bridge? You mean us?" "Yes," she said. "You and I, the proof that light and flesh can exist together, if they capture you. They'll tear me apart to learn how, if they capture me. They'll destroy humanity to erase the idea of us." Elias set his jaw. "Determination replacing fear. Then we'll give them nothing." He steered the ship toward the void. The stars reflecting off his visor, Leora's voice followed softly. "There is a place far beyond their reach, the ruins of the old Terran beacon in the Black Rift. If we reach it, we can hide, maybe even rebuild. Then that's where we're going," Elias said. The engines flared, the stars began to blur, and the ship vanished into the deep dark. But behind them, in the orbit of Zereth Prime, the Eliari warships aligned in formation. The Overseer's mechanical fleet rose from the planet to meet them, and high above it all, in the void, a colossal structure emerged, a dark sphere with a burning core, a weapon older than either species. And in the silent black, its systems activated. Target lock. The bridge. Elias felt a chill pass through his chest. He looked at the crystal as it flickered with Leora's light. She whispered, almost like a prayer, "They will come for us, but they will not understand. Because what we are is not meant to be destroyed. It is meant to change everything." The stars outside flickered as they entered faster than light travel. And for the first time since Zereth Prime, Elias smiled. "Then let's change everything." The ship disappeared into the horizon of stars, leaving behind a dying planet, a rising war, and the faint heartbeat of something far greater, the beginning of humanity's most dangerous and beautiful story. The ship cut through the blackness of space like a wounded bird refusing to fall. Outside the window stretched a silence, so deep it seemed alive. The stars were distant and cold, but ahead, where no sane pilot flew, the darkness bent, a vast, spiraling cloud that swallowed light itself. The Black Rift. Elias gripped the flight controls, his palms slick with sweat. Every warning light on the dashboard blinked red. He was running on minimal oxygen, minimal power, and pure faith. The crystal, Leora's core, floated above the console. Pulsing faintly, her voice echoed softly through the cabin. "You're almost there, Elias. Just a little further." Her tone was calm. But beneath it, he could feel something else. Pain. Her light flickered with every jolt of turbulence, as though the rift itself was draining her. The ship shook violently, alarms blaring. "Leora, talk to me." "The engines are losing stability. The rift eats energy. I'll divert what I can from my core." "No. You'll burn yourself out." Her voice softened. "If I don't, we both die. Let me do this." Elias clenched his jaw. "You always say that. Always ready to give yourself up. And you always argue." "Human," she whispered, a faint smile in her tone. "Maybe that's why I trust you." The ship dove into the swirling storm of the Black Rift. Outside, space twisted, stars stretched into spirals of light. The hull groaned as invisible forces pulled at it. Elias could feel the gravity tearing at his bones. But through it all, her light held steady, guiding him like a beacon in the dark. After what felt like hours or seconds, they broke through. Before them floated a massive structure, half buried in the void. A forgotten Terran beacon station, ancient and dead. Its rings drifted slowly around a shattered core. Elias exhaled in disbelief. "We made it." The ship drifted closer, thrusters whispering weakly, docking clamps extended. And with a hollow thud, they connected. Lights flickered on inside the beacon for the first time in centuries. "Welcome, Elias," Leora said, her voice faint. This place remembers your kind. Elias stepped through the airlock into silence. Dust floated in zero gravity. Catching the pale light from his helmet, the corridors were long, filled with broken screens and skeletons of machines. Everywhere he looked, symbols of humanity's early exploration era, forgotten logos, faded flags. This station, it's from before the divide, he whispered. Before humans and Eliari became enemies, Leora replied. Her voice vibrated through the ship's speakers. It was here that they tried to unite, to share technology, knowledge, even blood. Until fear broke it, as he walked deeper inside. Elias felt a strange hum under his boots. It was faint, like a heartbeat hidden beneath the metal. Leora. The power grid is still alive. Not power, she said softly. Memory. The walls began to glow one by one. Images appeared, holograms frozen in time. Humans and Eliari working side by side, laughing. Building something together, the early model of the origin core. Elias stared, speechless. This is where they made you. No, she corrected gently. This is where they made the idea of me. She paused, and her voice dimmed. Elias, there's something you need to know. The origin core was never meant to create life. It was designed to merge consciousness. When my parents activated it, they didn't create me. They became me. He froze, staring at the glowing walls. What are you saying? I am both of them, Elias. I am the result of a love so strong it defied biology itself. But that means I was never meant to exist outside the core. If I stay like this for too long, I'll collapse. The energy inside me is unstable. Elias's voice broke. No. There has to be a way to fix this. There is, she said. But you won't like it. Tell me anyway. The core that powered this beacon, it's still functional. If I merge with it, I can stabilize, but it means I'll be bound here forever. I won't be able to speak to you again. Elias stood frozen in the dim light, his heart pounding. You'll disappear? Not disappear, she whispered. Become something new, something eternal. A guardian for both species. He shook his head violently. You can't ask me to let you go again, and I can't ask you to die for me. Elias, this is the choice. Silence filled the beacon. The hum of the old station grew louder, echoing their hearts. Elias pressed his hands against the wall, closing his eyes. I already lost you once. I can't do it again. You didn't lose me, she said softly. You found me, and that is why I can finally let go. Before he could reply, the ship's alarm blared. Elias turned on the radar. Red signals were appearing again. Hundreds of ships, human and Eliari both. Closing in on the rift. They found us, he said. Then there's no time, she whispered. The crystal floated off the console and drifted toward the center of the room. The beacon's dormant systems came alive, light spreading like veins across the metal. Elias reached for her. Wait, Leora. She stopped him with her voice. Elias, if I merge, I can stop them. I can rewrite the beacon's signal and broadcast it to every ship out there. Not a command, not a threat, but truth. They will see everything, all that we were, all that we tried to become. He whispered. You mean peace, or understanding, she said. It's the same thing. If someone dares to listen. The beacon began to shake as her light filled it. Every corridor, every broken panel ignited with glowing warmth. The air vibrated with a strange music, like a heartbeat and a whisper at once. Elias could hardly see. He shouted over the storm of light, Leora, I won't leave you. You don't have to, she replied. You carry me, remember? And then, everything went white outside. The human and Eliari fleets surrounded the rift. Commanders on both sides barked orders, preparing to fire. But before they could launch, their screens flickered, every system hijacked by the beacon. And on every display, an image appeared. A human man and a glowing Eliari woman, standing hand in hand inside the storm. Their voices echoed across every channel. Fear built walls between us, but love built bridges stronger than light. Do not destroy what was born from both, because if you do, you destroy yourselves. For a long moment, no one fired. The fleets hovered in silence, the soldiers staring at the image. The Eliari captains lowered their weapons first, then the human commanders followed. And for the first time in history, no one gave the order to attack. Inside the beacon, the light began to fade. Elias lay on the floor, surrounded by golden dust. The crystal, now dull and silent, rested in his palm. He pressed it to his chest, whispering, "You did it, Leora. You really did it." He looked out through the cracked window into the endless dark. And for a moment, he saw something, a faint shape. A woman made of light smiling at him from the stars. Then she was gone, but her voice remained in the silence. "Stay human, stay alive, because the bridge still needs you." Elias closed his eyes, his tears floating in zero gravity. He was alone, but not empty, because inside him, her light still pulsed, quiet. Steady alive, the beacon drifted in the void, its message now echoing across galaxies, a reminder that peace was not born from power, but from a single choice, the choice to stay. The beacon drifted through the cold silence of the black rift. Its lights were dim now, glowing faintly like dying embers under a blanket of cosmic dust. The storm that once swirled around it had grown calm, as if space itself was holding its breath. Inside, one man still lived, still breathed, still waited. Elias sat against the cracked wall of the control room. His suit torn, his face pale, every breath came slow and heavy. For what felt like weeks he had been alone, floating through a graveyard of stars. His only company was the faint hum of the old beacon systems, and the memory of her voice, Leora, sometimes. When the station's power flickered, he thought he could still hear her, soft, distant, "Stay alive, human?" And every time, he answered into the silence, "I'm trying." He kept the crystal, her heart, close to him always. It no longer glowed, no longer sang, but when he held it against his chest, he could still feel a faint warmth, like a pulse refusing to die. Days blended into nights, though in the rift, there was no day, no night, only forever twilight. Elias had patched the ship, scavenged rations, and rerouted oxygen from the beacon's life support. He wasn't ready to leave, not yet. Something inside him told him he had to stay, because if he left too soon, he might never find her again. But far beyond the rift, across the galaxy, the message she had sent, their message, had changed everything. The fleets that had come to destroy each other had fallen silent. The broadcast from the beacon played endlessly across both human and Eliari networks. It spread faster than war ever had. Scholars debated it, soldiers dreamed of it, and for the first time in generations, both sides hesitated. They didn't call it peace. They called it the pause, and in that quiet hesitation, something human and divine began to grow again. But Elias didn't know any of that. He was just one man lost in the dark, waiting for a light that might never come. Then one cycle, while checking the beacon systems, he noticed something strange. A flicker on the screen, not random static, but a signal. It was weak, pulsing in a pattern, 3 short bursts. 2 long, 1 short. He frowned, staring. "That's Morse code," he whispered, "Old Earth's forgotten language." He quickly translated the pattern on the screen. The words appeared slowly, one by one. "Elias, follow the light." His heart stopped. "Leora?" He whispered. No reply, just the faint echo of static. But he didn't need more. He grabbed his helmet and ran to the airlock. Clutching the crystal in his hand, the beacon doors opened with a hiss, and the cold of the rift touched his skin. Outside, there was nothing but black, and yet, far off in the distance, a single golden thread of light shimmered through the void, thin, delicate, pulsing in rhythm. Just like her heartbeat, Elias climbed into the ship, started the engines, and followed it. The vessel trembled as it left the beacon behind. The golden thread wove through the darkness like a trail through dreams. And as he followed, he began to hear her again, faintly. Not in words, but in feeling. Every flicker of the light carried her emotions. Warmth, sorrow, hope. She was leading him somewhere. He didn't know where, only that he had to keep going. Hours turned to days. He passed through fields of cosmic debris, forgotten satellites, remnants of wars both ancient and new once. He saw the wreckage of an Eliari cruiser, its hull split open. Inside floated empty armor and a small flower of light blooming from its chest. It glowed softly as he passed, like a candle burning for forgiveness. Finally, after what felt like eternity, he reached the source, a planet, small, wrapped in golden mist, hidden between folds of collapsing gravity. No record showed it existed. Its atmosphere shimmered like liquid glass. A thread of light dove toward its surface, and he followed. When the ship broke through the clouds, his breath caught. The world below was alive. Forests of crystal trees reached into the sky. Rivers of liquid light flowed like veins across the land. And at the center of it all, a massive structure rising from the earth, glowing softly in the dusk. The shape was familiar, the same as the origin core. But this one was different, gentler, breathing like a living heart. Elias landed the ship near the base and stepped out. The air was warm and electric, carrying the scent of ozone and flowers. Every step echoed softly. And as he approached the heart of the structure, the crystal in his hand began to glow again. Faint at first, then brighter. He froze, whispering, "Leora?" And then the ground beneath him shimmered. The core awakened. A figure began to form from the white. At first a silhouette, tall, slender, glowing faintly. Then slowly her features appeared, silver hair flowing like starlight, eyes like galaxies, skin alive with color. She looked the same, and yet not the same. Her presence was calmer, older, infinite. "Leora." Elias breathed, his voice breaking. She smiled gently. "You followed the light," she said softly, her voice carrying warmth and echo. He took a step forward, his hands trembling. "I thought you were gone." "I was," she said. "But something remained, you." He stared at her. "Lost between joy and disbelief? You're real?" "In a way," she said. "Not as before, but enough to speak to you one last time." He took another step. Reaching out, his hand passed through her like mist. He froze, tears stinging his eyes. She smiled sadly. "I'm made of what remains between energy and thought, Elias. I'm part of the core now. Part of the balance we fought for." He lowered his head, whispering, "I would have stayed forever, if it meant seeing you again." She tilted her head gently. "You already did, human. You stayed when no one else would. You saw what others feared to see. You made me real." He swallowed hard. "Then why bring me here?" Her eyes softened. "Because the bridge isn't complete yet. You carried my light, but it must belong to everyone now." She stepped closer. Placing her hand over his heart, he felt warmth surge through him, gentle but powerful. "You will return to them, Elias. You will tell them what we built, not just peace, but understanding. You will show them what it means to see someone and still stay." He shook his head. "They won't listen." She smiled faintly. "Then make them." Her body began to dissolve into golden dust. Swirling around him, he reached out in panic. "No, don't go again." I'm not going, her voice echoed through the wind. I'm becoming something new, something that will guide you all. When you see the lights in the sky, when your ships drift in the dark, remember, that is me. The dust lifted, spiraling upward like a glowing storm. The sky above the core ignited. Countless ribbons of light shot into space. Spreading like veins through the stars, he fell to his knees. Watching the entire world awaken with color, her voice came one last time. Elias, answer me one last time. If I undress all that I am, all my light, all my soul, will you still stay? He looked up, tears streaming down his face, and whispered into the storm, Yes, Leora, I will stay always. The wind carried his words into the heavens, and for a moment the lights above flickered, not randomly, but in a pattern, 3 short bursts, 2 long, 1 short. Her heart beat, and then peace. Elias stood slowly, his eyes glowing faintly with reflected gold. He turned back toward his ship, the world behind him alive with her memory. And in his hand, the crystal was gone, replaced by something new, a faint light beneath his skin, pulsing gently in rhythm, her light, now part of him. When he returned to human space, everything had changed. The fleets were silent, the councils uncertain. But when Elias spoke, they listened. He told them about her, about what it meant to love something, not for how it looked, but for what it was. He told them the truth, that compassion was not weakness, it was survival, and that the future belonged not to one species or another, but to the bridge between them. And years later, when the stars aligned just right and golden light swept across the night sky, children on both worlds would look up in wonder and ask, What is that? Their parents would smile and whisper, That's the bridge, and the woman who made the universe remember what it means to stay, because the story of Elias and Leora was no longer legend. It was the foundation of a new beginning, born not from conquest, but from the quiet answer of one human who refused to walk away. And so the tale ended where it began, with a question that echoed through time itself. Will you stay if I undress, human? And an answer that changed the stars forever. Yes, I will stay.